Well, I guess I was 9 years old and I started singing. I started singing in church. My parents are both traveling ministers. And so I was singing Oh Happy Day and His Eyes on the Sparrow. I was studying Lauryn Hill on Sister Act 2. Like, everything she did, I was like, oh, my God, I love her. And that was kind of like my one magic trick I would pull out, and everybody would stop what they were doing. And I was like, I have everybody's attention.
Yep.
Now I will use this to manipulate you for the rest of your lives. So that's when I knew I could be powerful.
Yeah. That was a great feeling, right?
It was a great feeling. It was so fulfilling.
and it seemed as though you waited until you knew you were loaded and ready to go, and you had all that great music, and you pretty much knew what you were doing. A lot of people they start early, and they really don't have their footing yet.
Yeah.
Well, it was interesting. The process of me with making the first record took 5 years. It took 3 record labels. It took a lot of, willpower on my own end, because I heard no every day of my life, and I just never took that for an answer for a yes. And I think that it took, it took that amount of time for me to build up the strength, because you can't just be thrown into this world and actually survive through it if you don't really have a thick skin and all those stories you hear. So I really believe that everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. And even with this next new record, the pressure is on, of course. I kind of like to not really think about the pressure. I told the record label, and I told the people around me, I said, don't tell me when to deliver the record. I will let you know when I have my crown. Mm-hmm. Right now I have a lot of jewels, but I don't feel like I have my crown. And I found my crown. Now I got a great one.
Nice. That's the way to go at it.
How did you get that out of, I know you came from a really religious kind of gentle background. How do you get that
I wouldn't call it gentle. It was definitely like fire and brimstone. That's probably why today I'm still sparky.
So that's how you got your strength then, in a way.
Yeah. My parents are, they have an interesting background before they, became Christians, and they're interesting characters themselves. They are completely characters. And, I was talking to you before about your kids, how as far as you run, you become them.
Yeah.
You're still turning into your parents every single day.
It's true.
No matter how much you don't
whether you want to or not.
I know.
Yeah.
Now, we just heard that you're going to be performing at the MTV Movie Awards on June the 6th, and you always do these big musical numbers. Something planned for that?
No, just kind of like boring, nothing. Low-key,
Yeah, that's you.
Whatever. It's just,
no
ruffle shirt.
It's only like my first performance for this record, so it's probably, I'll just wear jeans and a T-shirt.
The new album...
He believes me.
Yeah, all right.
Moving on to the next subject.
The new album drops August 24th. It's called Teenage Dream, and of course you have a great cover.
Thank you.
On the
it's like
album.
Betty Page from 3010.
With blue hair.
Yeah, with blue hair.
Yeah.
I'm a Smurf.
Is it hard to keep surprising people with, goofy stuff and that look that you do?
Well, I'm just going to start getting naked on this record.
You should
the whole
start
time.
doing that
I'm just
during
going to give it
radio
all
interviews.
away.
Cool.
Yes. Well, I was going to wear bikinis on top and Daisy Dukes, but it was a little chilly out there in New York.
Yeah.
I don't think it's surprising. I think that, to me, I'm not looking for the shock line. I'm not a shock jock. I'm just being myself, and myself has evolved from that first record. And I think, to me, the people that are listening to it, generally I have a lot of female audience fans or listeners, whatever you would like to call them. But a lot of girls that come up to me and come to the shows, they're like 14, 15, and now they're 17 and 18, so they want a little bit more, It's like they stopped watching PG, they're on to the PG-13, and they can't wait to get that 17-year-old rated R. But it's not like I'm going there necessarily just to go there. I'm just letting myself be myself.
Feeling more comfortable with yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Letting herself be herself, Todd.
I heard it.
That is the deal.
I love your fashion style too.
Thank you.
I got to tell you, on top of your amazing ability as an artist, I just think that's one of the things that makes you so much fun to watch.
Thanks.
Where'd that come from?
Well, maybe it came from my father initially, because whenever he would preach, he would wear the craziest socks. Like, he'd have, like, this cool suit, and he'd pull up his slacks, and you'd see, like, these, like, hot pink polka dot socks.
Wow.
So maybe I got the flair a little bit from my father. But I've always just loved dressing up and being 2 degrees away from a drag queen.
Would you mind terribly if we threw this record on?
Oh, horribly. It would be horrible.
It would be awful, wouldn't it?
Now, tell us how, I don't know if you made this story up or it really happened, but
I made it all up.
It's pretty entertaining. Could you please tell the listeners how it happened?
Well, you know, I heard actually on the drive over here that it was the #1 most downloaded song. Where it was in New York, and I was like, oh, that feels so good and so validating. New York City is downloading a song about California girls. Sorry. No, I wrote it because, well, I on tour last year, I was coming out to, you know, that California Girls song that the Beach Boys does, which they all could be California Girls, which is probably in my top 5. I mean, influence songs, love that song. And I am from Santa Barbara, from California, and I love being in New York. But
from the hood in Santa Barbara.
I love repping the West Coast, and I felt like it was weird for me to be in Los Angeles, you know, out with my friends and seeing them put their drinks up into the air when they're hearing Empire State of Mind. I'm like, what about California? What about the Golden Coast? And I still love New York. Don't think I don't. I'm about to buy a place here for sure.
There you go.
But I ain't gonna be here when it's frozen.
No.
I'll be in California laying out, just like y'all should be.
Right.
So you heard Empire State of Mind. Everybody was toasted, and you said, "Wait a minute, I need to do a song about California."
Yeah, I just thought it was perfect timing, and I think that it really brings it back to me and who I am.
But don't you have a doll that's coming out, though, don't you?
Actually, it came out a little while ago. Actually, about a year ago, somebody wanted to make me into a doll, and they made 500 of them. Because I happened to use their dolls in my You're So Gay video, and so they made me a doll.
Is it that would be my ultimate thrill?
I have one at home, and I don't put any clothes on her, and I just keep her on the mantelpiece naked for everybody that comes by.
So you can have that with Mark and be like a little sort of Ken doll thing and still be genetically accurate.
Yeah, yeah. This is already getting strange.
Discuss. So how's the tour been? It's gone very well for you.
Yeah, it's going very well. I'm finally in Australia, which is wonderful. I've been touring on the Hello Kitty tour for about 6-7 months now. But just, I mean, I feel like a door-to-door salesman with this first record. I feel like I've met so many people and been able to win them over on an individual basis. And I feel like I'm really connecting with the fans. I feel like I'm making just such a huge connection in general being on tour, and so it's great to be here.
Katy, I had a door-to-door salesman come to my house today. He looked nothing like you.
Now, we are very pleased that you'll be performing for us later on tonight.
Yeah.
And waking up in Vegas, and I hear that that's loosely based on an incident that happened to you.
Well,
have you done the Shotgun Vegas wedding?
Yeah, but it's not for real. I got fake married. I'm a big practical joker, like you are. And when I was 21, my boyfriend and I at the time, I live in LA, so it's very easy to get to Las Vegas because it's only a 4-hour drive. And so we drove to Vegas on a whim, and we decided we were going to pull a prank by getting fake married. And that means we went to the wedding chapel. We asked the minister to take pictures with us as though we got married, and we got a fake certificate with like a fake certificate number. And so we scanned the certificate and the pictures to my parents, and they totally freaked out, naturally. And
So now, is that insulting to the man in question when you've gone, haha, we got married, and your parents have gone, oh dear God, instead of, oh, that's lovely?
I mean, I was only 21 at the time, and you know, it was right before I was in the middle of like making a record, and so they're like, oh no, she's gone and thrown it all away. She just did a shotgun wedding in Vegas, and we let them sit on it for like 24 hours, and then we're like, ha, this is just a joke.
Now, your parents, as much as we've talked about this before, because they're ministers, they're pastors,
yeah.
But they themselves, before all of that, had a pretty wicked sense of humour. They were almost rock stars in their own right.
They still do. I mean, but they definitely needed to find the Lord.
But didn't your mum dated Jimi Hendrix for a while?
No, she never dated him. She just went out on a date.
Still?
I could have been a Hendrix. I tell her that all the time. I wish I was.
And then what was the tipping point for them? How do they go from that to now being preachers?
Well, my mom had she was kind of like this wild pot-smoking debutante from Santa Barbara, you know, caught in the scene. And then my dad was he was an acid dealer for Timothy Leary in Washington.
Fantastic. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. And so they...
Is that how you find the Lord? You trip out and it just...
No.
The heavens open up and... You hear Jesus and a lot of stuff.
Yeah. No, but after a while, you know, they found God and they decided to turn their lives around rather than doing drugs and kind of, you know, wasting their life away. They decided to help out other people, and they've been in the ministry for like 34 odd years now. And they still travel around just as much as I travel around. I mean, last week or a couple weeks ago, they were in China, and they're really good people. And my dad has a lovely sense of humor. He just started getting tattoos, and he's like 61 now, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did he get?
Well, he has 4 or 5 tattoos, and they all say Jesus. just in case, like, you forget that one says Jesus like in Hebrew, one says it in like this calligraphy, and then one says one's like a Japanese symbol, Jesus, you know. he got tramp stamped on his back.
Hi.
Thank you. Hi. That's nice.
That's nice. Have you been reading the papers? Because you have been getting amazing reviews.
I have I read one review, and it was really nice. I actually thought I was doing pretty horrible shows, so I'm really hard on myself, but I thought it was really nice. They gave me
one
really
of them
good
said compared you to Blondie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a pretty
cool.
big compliment.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's pretty amazing. And it wasn't just Man Rove giving you these compliments.
That's
huge.
huge.
Obviously always giving you big reviews. You're doing really well now, but didn't you release a CD like almost 10 years ago? Wasn't that your first CD?
Yeah, I mean, I released a gospel record when I was 15 because I grew up in, you know, a household where all I ever did was listen to gospel music, and my parents are both traveling ministers, and so that was kind of like my first introduction to music, and it was kind of like that's all I ever knew. That was my life, my faith, my church, my church friends, and things like that. So I kind of sang about, you know, what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry, is through gospel music. And then it didn't work out. Like, it was quite a little blip on the radar. I think the label went bankrupt or what have you, and because I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
When did you make the sort of conscious decision to move from that music onwards? Was it just you?
It was just an evolution, you know. I think, you know, I did a lot of growing up and started seeing things without rules and restrictions of, you know, your parents' household or you know, growing up sheltered and then leaving at 17, you really become this big sponge. Like, I took everything in, I tried everything, and you know, I still continue to be very open and try everything. And, you know, I just started singing about my experiences I went through then, you know, which changed drastically from 15. It's pretty funny, you know, when you're a kid and you look up to, like, someone that's 10 years older than you, and they're like, you know, you're really going to change. You're gonna change a lot. And you're like, no, I'm never going to change. I'm always going to be the same. Yeah. I'm going to marry my first boyfriend. Everything's going to be, like, totally the same. You change so much.
I mean, even your parents changed. Because didn't your mum go on a date with, like, Jimi Hendrix? And weren't they kind of rockers? And then...
They totally were. They actually, before they got saved, they had quite a wild lifestyle.